Some new data just dropped from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you're paid by the hour, your wages went up about 1.7% this past year. If you're on salary, wages went up 2.9%. And inflation is running higher than both of those numbers. So in real terms, what your money actually buys, hourly workers just took a pay cut, while salaried workers took a smaller one. And the gap between those two groups just got wider. That gap is what this video is about because it didn't happen by accident. Let me put the actual numbers on the table so we're all looking at the same thing, because this stuff usually gets buried in reports nobody reads. Salaried wages went up 2.9%. Hourly wages went up 1.7%. That's the gap right there. And inflation is sitting at around 3.8% right now. So you do the math. A 1.7% raise in a 3.8% inflation environment doesn't keep you even. It falls behind. Your paycheck went up, but what it buys went down. And the government's own numbers make it even plainer. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks something called real average hourly earnings. That's your wages adjusted for inflation. The number tells you what you can actually buy. For production and non-supervisory workers, the hourly workforce, the people doing the actual work, real average hourly earnings dropped 0.8% over the past year. Not flat, not barely moving. It was negative, it was down. The official scorekeeper is telling you that an hour of your work buys less today than it did 12 months ago. And almost nobody covered that story. Now, I want to be straight with you. The gap between hourly and salaried pay isn't brand new. It's been there for a long time. But what makes this moment worth talking about is that it's widening again right now after a few years where hourly workers had a rare stretch of actually gaining more ground. Back in 2022, when everything opened up after the pandemic and employers were scrambling to fill jobs, hourly wages actually outpaced salaried ones for a while. That almost never happens. Employers had to work for it. They had to compete. If you were an hourly worker in that window, you may have gotten a real raise for the first time in years. And now that window closed. Hiring slowed down, the scramble stopped, and the gap widened right back to where it's been for most of the last generation. The leverage that hourly workers had for about the last 2 years is largely gone, and the data is showing it. So if you felt like things were getting a little better for a minute and now they feel tight again, you're not imagining it. That's exactly what happened. And here's why it lands harder on hourly workers than anybody else. There's 3 reasons for this, and none of them are about you not working hard enough. First, there's leverage. When you're hourly, you're generally more replaceable in the employer's mind. At least that's how the system treats you. The salaried worker leaving takes institutional knowledge, relationships, accounts with them. The hourly worker leaving gets a job posting and a 2-week turnaround. That difference in how replaceable employers think you are is one of the biggest factors in how much they feel pressure to pay you more. Second, there's volatility. Hourly wages move faster in both directions. When the labor market got hot, hourly pay jumped. Cooled down, hourly pay is cooling fastest. Salaried compensation tends to be stickier. It doesn't surge as high, but it also doesn't fall as fast. Hourly workers ride the whole wave, and right now the wave is going in the wrong direction. The third thing is, and this is the one that I want you to sit with, the hourly worker is spending a bigger share of their income on stuff that went up the most. Groceries, gas, rent, insurance, all the necessities. When inflation hits those categories hard, it hurts the hourly worker harder than almost anybody else because a higher percentage of every paycheck goes straight to those things. There's less discretionary cushion, less room to absorb it, so you've got wages growing slower in the categories that hurt the most with less buffer. That's not a single problem, that's 3 problems stacked on top of each other, hitting the same group of people at the same time. Now here's the part that gets me. When the labor market was tight and hourly workers were getting raises, there were a lot of headlines about how workers were getting too much. Wage growth was inflationary, they said. Now wages are falling behind inflation for hourly workers, and there's basically silence. The same outlets that worried about when your wages went up aren't running stories about how your real pay just went negative. Because falling wages for hourly workers isn't treated as a crisis. It's treated as the market correcting. Correcting to what exactly? to the way it was before, where the gap between hourly and salaried workers keeps widening, where an hour of work at the bottom buys less year after year, where the people doing the most physically demanding jobs in this country fall further behind the people in offices. That's what they call correcting. You didn't correct. The system just went back to working the way it was built to work. So what do you do with this? Because I don't make these videos to leave you with a problem and no door. 1, know what your labor is actually worth on the open market right now, not what your employer is paying you. Those are 2 different numbers. Look at what similar jobs are posting. If there's a gap, you have information. Information is leverage. Now, number 2, understand what a raise below inflation actually is. It's a pay cut with better optics. If inflation is running almost 4% and your raise was 2, you lost ground. Don't let anybody tell you to be grateful for a number that leaves you further behind than you started. And number 3, the data shows job switchers historically out-earn job stayers. People who move to a new job tend to get bigger pay bumps than people who stay put and wait for a raise. The market is tight right now, so switching isn't as easy as it was in 2022, but the principle still holds. Staying quiet and hoping is the weakest position in this environment. They didn't cut your pay, they just didn't raise it enough. In this economy, with inflation where it is, that's the same thing really. Real wages down 0.8%. That's not a feeling, that's the number, and you deserve to hear it. I make these videos for people who work for a living, no suits and no lectures. If this hit home, send it to somebody who gets paid by the hour, and I'll see you in the next video.